Hi everybody, this is Farmer Aubrey. I'm the farm manager at McDowell Farm School, and we have been missing you all like crazy and wishing that you could be here with us. And since you can't be here with us right now, we thought we would bring the farm to you. So I wanted to introduce you to our chicks. This room that we're in right now, this is called the brood room. So this is where our chicks start their lives. You can see this cute little chick right here. Let me hold it up for you so you can see how cute this chick is. So these chicks are about just under 3 weeks old. We actually got these chicks through the mail, believe it or not. So they were hatched somewhere else, and then the day that they're hatched, they're sent through the mail, USPS Postal Service, to our local post office, and we go pick them up, and we can hear them cheeping in the back. It's really cute. And then we bring them here to the farm, and we put them in this room all together so that they can have some protection. So for the first 4 weeks of their lives, we want to put them in a room that's nice and warm. If you look at this chick right here, you can see that it's just starting to grow its true feathers. Those are the adult feathers that it'll have for the rest of its life. That'll get bigger as it grows. But you can see some of its chick feathers, these little downy soft feathers right here. They're really soft and they're really cute and soft, but they don't keep the chick very warm. So when the chicks are little, we want to make sure that we give them some extra warmth because they can't keep themselves warm, so we have to keep them warm. So we keep them in this brood room where they have this nice heat lamp. And at the first week of their lives, they want to be at about 95 degrees in this room. So we keep it 95 degrees, and we can raise and lower this heat lamp for them to have the temperature that they need. And then every week after that, we lower the temperature by 5 degrees. So we've had these about 3 weeks, so we're at 85 degrees now. And then next week, they'll go down to 80 degrees. And then we're gonna see if it's warm enough outside, we're gonna take them outside so that they can have lots of good grass to eat and things to scratch around for. So we have 25 chicks in here right now. They look different if you look at them. There are a few different colors going on in here, but they're all the same breed. So these are called kosher kings, and that's a really great breed because they're meant to be foraging outside on grass. They want to be outside scratching around for grass and bugs and seeds. So they're all the same breed, even though they have some different colors going on here. For those of you who may know your chicken breeds, this isn't a heritage breed, but it is descended from heritage breeds. And so we always like to support those older breeds and slow growing breeds. So they're a really good hardy chick and very cute. And you can hear them talking to each other. So when the chicks are this age, we give them this food that we call chick crumble. You can see it in my hand here. They really like this stuff. So it's small so that they can eat it really easily, and as they get bigger, we'll give them feed that comes in a pellet size. But right now they just need this little stuff. And we also add a little bit of sand because chickens and chicks need to have grit, which is basically like sand or small stones that they swallow when they eat. So chicken digestion is crazy. It's really, really cool. It's not like us. So when a chicken eats, you can see they're not really chewing. So they just swallow their food whole, and then it goes into this little sack right about here that's called a crop. And they store their food there. And then it goes into this little pouch kind of thing that's covered in muscle. And that's called the gizzard. And so it contracts just like this. The muscle outside of that contracts around their food. And what you do is when you give them sand or little stones, that acts like teeth almost inside the gizzard, and it helps mash up their food. So they basically don't chew their food until it goes into their bodies, in their gizzard, and then that chews their food up for them. Pretty crazy. Fun fact, earthworms have the same kind of digestion as a chicken. Isn't that nuts? So we give them a little bit of sand because they're babies, but when they get bigger, they'll eat stones and little pebbles and things outside when they're foraging. Oh, this one went into the sandbox. The other thing that we give these little chickens is these right here. So this is just called a perch. All chickens have, you can see there's one right there perched on its little perch. They have this instinct to roost, we also call them roost bars, to roost, especially at nighttime. So the chicken's ancestor is called the red jungle fowl, so you can guess where it came from. It came from the jungle. So at night, the only way for chickens to keep themselves safe from predators was to go up in the trees off the ground. So even though they're now domestic chickens, they're not living in the jungle, they still have that instinct. So we like to give all of our chickens, even our chicks, these little roost bars so that they can be up high at night and feel safe. So one thing you might be wondering is, how does a chicken become a chicken? How does it turn from an egg into a chick? So let me go show you. Follow me. Bye, chicks. So there are a few options. If you're a farmer and you want to raise your own chicks, you can do a few things. You can do like what we did and you can order them through the mail, but that's actually pretty stressful for chicks. So there are some other options too that you can do. So you can also raise your own chicks from your eggs. We don't do that right now just because the chicks that we have here are being raised for meat, and that breed is not a breed that we raise here. So the chickens that we have here that lay eggs, they're called layers, which means that we raise them to lay eggs for us to eat. So that's a different breed from what we would want for our meat birds. So right now we order our chicks through the mail instead of hatching them ourselves, but you can do that. So these are our nesting boxes right here. This is where our chickens lay their eggs. Let's see if we have any. We do. Right. So let me pull out one of these eggs for you. So it takes a few things for one of these little eggs to turn into a chick. First you need a chicken, so you need a hen, which is a female chicken, to lay the egg. You also need a rooster, and we have a rooster here. You'll see him later in the video. So we need a rooster to fertilize the egg. If you don't have a rooster, it's not going to turn into a chick. Have to have that rooster for it to be fertilized and turn into a chick. But even if you have a hen and a rooster, doesn't mean your egg's going to turn into a chick. It has to stay warm, so it has to stay at 99.5 degrees or warmer for at least 21 days for it to turn into a chick. So it won't even start to turn into a chick until it reaches that temperature. So we collect these eggs every day because these are the eggs that we eat, so they don't ever start to turn into a chick. But if we were to leave them in here and a hen was to sit on them for 21 days, then they might turn into a little chick. When a hen sits on her eggs, we call that being broody. So if you've ever heard someone say that like someone was brooding on something, it usually means that they're like kind of thinking a lot and sitting on something to kind of figure it out, maybe being very serious. And that's what our chickens do too. They literally sit on their eggs and they don't really leave those eggs except to go get some food and water, and then they come right back because their body temperature keeps those eggs warm so that they'll turn into chicks. So those are the things that you need for a chick to form. So you can also, another way that some people hatch their own chicks is they'll get a machine called an incubator, and it's basically a machine that can keep the eggs really warm and keep them at the right temperature, and it can also rotate them around so every side of the egg gets the same amount of heat. And so you can also keep your eggs in an incubator for 21 days, and then hopefully they hatch into chicks. So that's how a chick is formed. Now, when our chickens get big enough, like I said, hopefully maybe even next week, we'll take them outside and we put them out on the grass. So for us, we want to make sure that all of our chickens get to be outside, flapping around, scratching in the ground for bugs and insects and seeds, and they eat all of this good grass and clover and forage, and it makes them really healthy, and it makes the eggs and the meat that we eat really healthy. So let's go visit our chickens. Follow me. Chickens. So we have these outdoor chicken paddocks for our chickens, and if you've been here before, you probably remember there's actually 3 separate chicken paddocks, and that's because we want to rotate our chickens around so that they're always getting fresh grass, and so that we're distributing their poop, because their poop is a great fertilizer, but not if there's too much of it. So we want to make sure that we move them around and we give them fresh grass. And if you look at the dirt here, the chickens are pretty hard on this spot. So we couldn't leave them here all the time or there wouldn't be any grass left at all. So what we do is we rotate them around, and you can see this middle paddock right here is really green, and that's because we put a lot of brand new seeds in there, and we do that periodically. So if a paddock gets to be really like just hard packed dirt, we plant new plants so that they have lots of good things to eat. Another thing that we do is we spread what we call scratch. This is actually just cracked corn, and this encourages the chickens to scratch around and have something to do during the day, because we want to make sure that they don't get bored. So we throw this out for them, and boy do they love it. Our chickens also are really friendly, and they like to eat out of our hands. Chickens. Can you see our rooster? I bet you can see it in the background. That's this guy, this beautiful bird right here. That's our rooster. He is really a great rooster. He protects the flock, and he makes sure that if he finds like a caterpillar or a grub or something delicious, that he gets that to our hens. So he does a really good job of protecting all of our chickens. You can see we have a lot of different colored chickens here. We have a lot of different breeds, and that's because we like to have lots of different chickens in here. They all have different colored eggs and different personalities, and they're a lot of fun. If you've been to Camp McDowell and been to the farm school, you probably also remember our geese. So we have some geese that live here. We call them guardian geese because they help to protect our chickens. You might be hearing them splash around behind us right now. So we keep those geese in here with us because when they honk, they scare away any predators like maybe hawks or birds or raccoons that might try and get our chickens. So they're a really good way for us to make sure that our chickens are protected. Nice. All right, I'm going to spread the last of this scratch out here. If you've ever done a farm fauna class here at the farm school, you've probably spread scratch for our chickens before. Now, all of these chickens are females except for our rooster right here. And that's because, again, we keep these chickens for eggs, and it's only the female chickens that lay eggs. All right, do you want to see our chicken coop? Come on over. Follow me. So this right here is our chicken coop. So the chickens on their own come in here as it starts to get dark because, again, their instinct to protect themselves is to get somewhere safe and get up high. So you can see that's our little bantam. She's one of our favorite little chickens here. You can see her on our roosting bars, and that makes them feel really secure, just like our chicks. So the chickens come in here at night, and this is also where our nesting boxes are. So the chickens hop up into those, and that's where they lay their eggs. And you can see they make these little nests out of the hay there. The other really cool thing about our chicken coop is that this right here started out as leaves, pretty much all leaves that we collected from the woods. And we mixed in a little bit of wood chips in here, and then the chickens poop in here, and they scratch around with their feet, and it naturally turns into compost. And if you've ever been here or have ever had a compost pile at home, you know that compost is really great in the garden. So this adds a lot of really good nutrients and gets all the like microorganisms and living things in the soil to be really, really healthy so that any plants that you grow are really healthy. So you can see I've got my hands in here because do you see any chicken poop? Mm-mm. It smells like soil. So this is awesome compost right here. So we're actually gonna muck this out tomorrow, and we're gonna start spreading it in our garden, and then we'll add more leaves and start the whole process over again. Okay, the last really cool thing that I wanna show you about our chickens is a trick. So we're gonna come out here, and I'm gonna show you something really cool about chickens. Hey Beth, will you let me out? Thank you. Over here, and I'm going to show you. Okay, So I have a trick that I want to show you about chickens. So the first thing I want you to do is look at this chicken's head and look at her eyes. I want you to just use your observational skills, see what you notice about her eyes. And if you're watching this with somebody, tell them something that you notice. Okay, now let me tell you something I notice about her eyes. First of all, I notice that her eyes aren't rolling around like my eyes can. Watch again. Do you see her moving her eyes around very much? Yeah, she's not really, right? The other thing I want you to notice is how big her eyes are compared to the size of her head. Now, they might look small because she's small, but if our eyes were the same size in comparison to our head as this chicken, they'd be about this big. Could you imagine if that was how big your eyes were? So, that's some important info for you to know when I do this cool trick. Okay, here's what I want you to do. Your job is to watch this chicken's head. Just watch her head. Are you ready? Here we go. Isn't that crazy? So this chicken is keeping her head still no matter how I move her body. Isn't that so weird? So here's what's happening. This chicken, her eyes are so big in her head that she actually can't roll them around like we can. Now, if you think about our vision, we're moving all the time, right? All animals are moving all the time. And just like when you take a picture of something that's moving, that image is usually blurry. But as humans, we have this really cool reflex where when we move, our eyes go in the opposite direction of our heads. Try at home, try to move your head without moving your eyeballs at all. If you think you can do it, close your eyes and put your fingers on your eye and move your head and see if your eye is moving at all. It's really hard to keep your eyes totally still when you move because we have this really cool reflex. And because our eyes go in the opposite direction of our head, it keeps the image around us clear all the time. Now, because this chicken's eyes are so big, she can't roll them around like we can, so she doesn't have that reflex. So instead, to be able to keep the image around her clear all the time, she has to keep her entire head still when she moves. And that keeps the image around her really clear. Isn't that cool? A couple other things I'll tell you about this chicken while I have her. This part of the chicken right here, you may have wondered what that's called. It's called a comb. Doesn't it kind of look like a comb? Maybe an upside down comb. And then underneath underneath the chicken right here, these are the wattles. So she has her comb and her wattles. Nice. So these are our chickens. I'm going to put this girl back. So now that you know a little bit more about chickens and about eggs, I challenge you in the morning to think about the eggs that you're eating. If you ever eat boiled eggs, here's something to notice. Have you ever noticed that a boiled egg has a flat side on it? It does. Take a look at your next boiled egg. The reason for that is because inside of that egg, there's a little air cell, and that's how the chick breathes as it develops. So the eggs that you're eating obviously aren't chicks. They're just eggs for eating. But that little pocket right there is an air cell that's designed for if it turns into a chick for what they can breathe. Pretty crazy. And you can also, as you're thinking about chickens and your eggs and all these things that we just learned, check out online if you have any local farmers near you. Right now, they're probably setting up online shops and no contact ways for people to order eggs from them. And you can see if there's a farmer near you who has chickens just like us. They're outside roaming around, eating those good bugs and seeds and grass with really delicious eggs that you can enjoy at home. We miss you all so much, and we can't wait to have you back on the farm.